Problem is, you all played for the crowd. I played for the result.
The rain hammered against the windows of Marcello's, the kind of upscale Italian place where my wife Sophie loved to parade her success. I sat at our usual corner table, watching her laugh with her friends, that sharp, cutting laugh that used to make my heart race. Now it just made my jaw clench. Honestly, David's sweet and all, Sophie was saying, gesturing with her wine glass, but he's just so beneath my level, you know? I mean, he fixes computers for a living while I'm closing million-dollar deals. Her friend Jade nodded sympathetically, her perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around her martini. You deserve so much better, Soph. Someone who matches your ambition. I kept my face neutral, cutting into my overpriced steak while my wife of 15 years dissected our marriage for entertainment. The third member of their little coven, Rebecca, leaned in conspiratorially. What about that real estate guy you've been working with? Ethan something? He seems more your speed. Sophie's cheeks flushed pink. Ethan Morrison? Oh, he's just a colleague. But yes, he's exactly the kind of man who understands drive and success. That's when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. The way she said his name, the slight breathiness in her voice, the unconscious smile that played at her lips. My wife was sleeping with Ethan Morrison. I set down my fork and looked up at the three women. They fell silent, suddenly aware I'd been listening. You know what, ladies? I said, my voice calm and measured. Sophie's absolutely right. She does deserve someone at her level. I reached into my jacket and pulled out 2 manila envelopes, placing them gently on the white tablecloth between the breadbasket and Sophie's wine glass. Which is why she'll love life without me dragging her down. Sophie's face went pale. David, what are you... The first envelope contains divorce papers, already filed with the county clerk this afternoon. The second has the deed transfer for the house. It's being donated to Habitat for Humanity tomorrow morning. I stood up, dropping 3 20s on the table. That should cover my portion of dinner. Jade's mouth fell open. You can't just... Oh, but I can. You see, while Sophie was building her career and finding herself, I was building something too. A very detailed understanding of asset protection and digital security. I smiled at my wife's horrified expression. The BMW is already on a cargo ship to Honduras, donated to a missionary group. The jewelry's at 3 different pawn shops downtown. The joint accounts were emptied this morning and distributed to various charities. Sophie shot to her feet, her chair scraping against the marble floor. You fool! You can't do this! Actually, sweetheart, I already did. You wanted someone at your level? Well, now you're free to find him. Just make sure he's got a place for you to stay tonight. I walked toward the exit, feeling lighter than I had in months. Behind me, I could hear Sophie's voice rising to a shriek, the sound of glass breaking and Jade hissing urgent questions. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Rebecca. Holy crap, what did you do with the Range Rover? I snapped a photo of the Salvation Army truck loading the vehicle onto a flatbed and sent it back with a single word. Upgraded. The rain had stopped, and for the first time in years, the air felt clean. Mike's boxing gym smelled like sweat, leather, and honest work, a welcome change from the sterile corporate environments I'd been drowning in. I wrapped my hands methodically, the familiar ritual calming my nerves as I processed the previous night's nuclear option. So let me get this straight, Mike said, holding the heavy bag steady. You nuked your entire marriage in the middle of dinner at Marcello's? Not nuked, surgically dismantled. I threw a sharp left hook, feeling the satisfying impact travel up my arm. There's a difference. Mike had owned this gym for 20 years, back when this neighborhood was all factory workers and dockhands. Now it was surrounded by trendy coffee shops and boutique fitness studios. But Mike's place remained unchanged, a sanctuary for people who understood that real strength came from getting hit and getting back up. And you're sure about the affair? Another combination. Jab, cross, hook. The way she said his name, Mike. Plus, I've been tracking our credit card statements for months. Lunch dates, hotel charges, expensive gifts I never saw. She's been sloppy. So what's the plan now? I paused, unwrapping my hands. Information gathering. If you want to catch a cheater, you follow the perfume and the credit card receipts. But if you want to destroy one, you follow the ego. That afternoon, I sat in my car outside Morrison Luxury Properties, watching Ethan through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He was exactly what I'd expected. 6'2", silver at the temples, the kind of artificially white smile that screamed expensive dental work. He drove a red Tesla, wore suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent, and had the smooth confidence of a man who'd never been truly challenged. I followed him to the Meridian Spa, one of those places where wealthy people paid obscene amounts to feel pampered. While he was inside getting his massage, I took a casual walk through the parking garage. The Tesla was parked in a corner spot, away from other cars to avoid dings. I brought a small bag of sugar and a funnel old-school sabotage that would take days to manifest and couldn't be traced to any security cameras. As I worked, I thought about Sophie's laugh from the night before, the casual cruelty in her voice. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk." "Yes," I responded. "We talked for 15 years. I'm done listening. Please, I can explain everything. The only explanation I need is in your phone records, which, by the way, make for fascinating reading." The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times before she finally sent, "You're making a huge mistake." "The mistake was thinking you were worth 15 years of my life. But don't worry, I'm a fast learner." That evening, I sat in my temporary apartment, a furnished place downtown that I'd secured weeks ago under my business LLC, and opened my laptop. Sophie thought I just fixed computers, but my actual expertise was in digital security and forensic analysis. I'd spent years helping corporations identify internal threats and data breaches. Now I was hunting bigger game. Her work email was protected, but Sophie had always been careless with personal security. The same password for everything, automatic syncing across devices, location services enabled on every app. Within an hour, I had access to 3 months of text messages between her and Jade. The conversations were illuminating, not just about the affair, which had been going on for 8 months, but about their plans for the divorce. They'd discussed hiding assets, claiming emotional misuse, even fabricating evidence of gambling obsession to explain the missing money from our accounts. But the real revelation came in a message from 2 weeks ago. "Sophie, David's been acting suspicious lately, asking weird questions about my schedule. Jade, maybe it's time to accelerate the timeline. Ethan's ready to make this official anyway. Sophie, I just need to be smart about it, take him for everything and make sure he can't recover. Jade, that's what friends are for. I've got some ideas." I leaned back in my chair, a cold smile spreading across my face. They thought they were playing chess while I was playing checkers. Time to show them the difference. I opened a new browser window and navigated to the anonymous tip line for the State Bar Association. Sophie's law firm, Bellamy and Associates, had strict policies about conflicts of interest and personal relationships affecting professional judgment. It would be such a shame if someone reported that one of their senior associates was having an affair with a client whose property deals she was personally handling. The Bellamy and Associates annual client appreciation party was held at the Riverside Country Club, the kind of old money establishment where handshake deals were still worth more than contracts. I hadn't planned to attend, but Sophie's panicked voicemail that morning changed my mind. "David, please, we need to talk. Things are complicated right now. I know you're angry, but this isn't just about us anymore. Call me back." I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit, the one Sophie had bought me for her last promotion celebration. The irony wasn't lost on me. The party was in full swing, lawyers and clients mingling over top-shelf liquor and catered hors d'oeuvres. I spotted Sophie immediately. She was standing near the bar with Mrs. Bellamy, her face tight with stress. Ethan was conspicuously absent. I grabbed a whiskey and made my way through the crowd, nodding to familiar faces. Several people looked surprised to see me. Word of our separation had apparently spread through Sophie's professional circle. "David!" Mrs. Bellamy's voice cut through the ambient chatter. "What a pleasant surprise. Sophie didn't mention you were coming." "Last-minute decision," I replied, noting how Sophie's knuckles had gone white around her wine glass. Wouldn't want to miss celebrating Sophie's professional relationships. Mrs. Bellamy, a sharp woman in her 60s who'd built her firm from nothing, raised an eyebrow. "Yes, well, we've been discussing some concerns about professional boundaries lately. It's so important to maintain the firm's reputation." Sophie's face flushed. "Mrs. Bellamy, I think there might be some misunderstanding." "Oh, I don't think there's any misunderstanding at all," I interjected smoothly. "Sophie's always been very clear about her priorities. Haven't you, sweetheart?" Before Sophie could respond, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. Ethan Morrison had arrived, and he was clearly drunk. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his tie askew, and he was gesticulating wildly at the valet. "Where is she?" he demanded loudly, scanning the room. "Where's Sophie? We need to talk about this BS. The party fell silent. Mrs. Bellamy's expression shifted from polite interest to cold fury. Ethan spotted Sophie and began pushing through the crowd. There you are. What the hell did you tell people? My business is ruined. The licensing board is investigating me. My clients are canceling contracts. Ethan, please, Sophie whispered urgently. Not here. Not now. Not now? He laughed bitterly. When then? When you've destroyed both our careers with your husband's little revenge fantasy? I stepped forward, placing myself between Ethan and Sophie. I think you've had enough to drink, friend. Maybe it's time to call it a night. Ethan's bloodshot eyes focused on me with visible hatred. You smug little computer nerd. You think you're so clever, don't you? I think I'm a man whose wife was sleeping with her client, violating professional ethics and personal vows. But hey, what do I know? I just fix computers. Ethan swung at me, a wild, drunken haymaker that I saw coming from a mile away. I stepped aside easily, letting his momentum carry him past me. He stumbled, caught himself on a cocktail table, and sent glasses crashing to the floor. Security was already moving toward us, but I held up a hand. No need, gentlemen. Mr. Morrison was just leaving. I looked around the silent room, making eye contact with Mrs. Bellamy, then Sophie, then the crowd of lawyers and clients who were witnessing this spectacular meltdown. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, raising my whiskey glass. A toast to loyalty, professional integrity, and the true price of betrayal. Some lessons are more expensive than others. I drained my glass and set it on the bar. Sophie, I'll have my attorney contact yours about finalizing the paperwork. Mrs. Bellamy, always a pleasure. As I walked toward the exit, I could hear the whispers starting, the urgent conversations, the sound of Sophie's career imploding in real time. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably Jade. You've made a very powerful enemy. I typed back, get in line. The valet brought my car around and I tipped him generously. As I drove away, I could see Ethan in my rearview mirror, being escorted out by security, while Sophie stood frozen in the doorway, watching her carefully constructed world crumble. Phase 2 was complete. Time for the real fun to begin. Maya's school talent show was the last place I expected to have a revelation. But life has a way of surprising you. I sat in the back of the auditorium, watching my 17-year-old daughter perform a piano piece she'd been practicing for months. Sophie was noticeably absent, probably dealing with the fallout from the country club incident. After Maya's performance, I found her backstage, beaming with pride and adrenaline. Dad, did you see? I didn't mess up the crescendo. You were perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect. I hugged her tight, feeling a pang of guilt about the chaos I'd unleashed. Your mom wanted to be here, but work got complicated. Maya's expression darkened slightly. Yeah, she's been weird lately. Really stressed, and she's been staying at Aunt Jade's a lot. That caught my attention. Aunt Jade's? How often? Like almost every night this week. She says you guys are working through some things, but won't tell me what's going on. Maya studied my face. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? The direct question hit me harder than I'd expected. We're figuring things out, honey. But whatever happens between your mom and me, it doesn't change how much we both love you. That's what divorced parents always say. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. After dropping Maya at her friend's house for a sleepover, I decided to take a drive past Jade's penthouse downtown. Jade Patterson ran one of the city's most successful PR firms, the kind of place that specialized in crisis management and reputation rehabilitation. Her building was all glass and steel, with a parking garage that required a key card for access. I parked across the street and settled in to watch. Around 10 p.m., Ethan's Tesla pulled into the garage. Interesting. 20 minutes later, Sophie's replacement BMW, apparently she'd managed to secure new transportation, joined him. But here's where it got really interesting. Ethan didn't leave. Not at 11, not at midnight, not at 1 a.m. I called Mike. I need a favor. You still have that friend who does private security installations? Jimmy, yeah, why? I need some surveillance equipment. Nothing illegal, just standard security cameras that happen to have very good zoom capabilities. Dave, what are you planning? Insurance, the kind that protects you when people try to rewrite history. The next morning, I used my building access credentials, a perk of doing IT consulting for half the commercial properties downtown, to install 3 small cameras in the parking garage. Nothing fancy, just motion-activated units that would upload footage to a secure cloud server. Within 48 hours, I had everything I needed. The footage was damning. Not just Sophie and Ethan meeting regularly at Jade's place, but Jade herself participating in their little strategy sessions. I watched through my laptop as the three of them sat around Jade's dining table, documents spread between them, planning what looked like a coordinated attack on my reputation and finances. The audio quality wasn't perfect, but I caught enough fragments to understand their strategy. They were planning to claim I'd been abusive, that I'd hidden assets, that my sudden generosity to charities was actually a scheme to avoid paying alimony. Jade was coaching Sophie on how to present herself as a sufferer, while Ethan was providing financial projections about my supposed hidden wealth. But the real revelation came on Thursday night. I watched Ethan and Jade embrace in the parking garage, not a friendly hug, but a passionate kiss that lasted nearly a minute. When they separated, I could read Jade's lips clearly. She has no idea. Sophie wasn't just being betrayed by her husband. She was being betrayed by her lover and her best friend, who were apparently planning to cut her out of whatever scheme they'd concocted. I sat back in my chair, processing this new information. Sophie thought she was the puppet master, pulling strings and manipulating outcomes. In reality, she was just another mark in a con game run by people who saw her as a useful idiot with access to legal resources and a wealthy husband. For the first time since this whole mess started, I almost felt sorry for her. The feeling passed quickly. I opened a new email account and began composing a message to the city's most popular gossip blog, Riverside Confidential. They specialized in exposing the private scandals of public figures, and their anonymous tip line was legendary. The subject line read, "Exclusive, prominent attorney's love triangle involves fraud, betrayal, and blackmail." I attached selected video clips, carefully edited to protect my own involvement while maximizing the damage to all three conspirators. The story would write itself. Respected lawyer caught in affair with client, best friend orchestrating elaborate con game, everyone lying to everyone else. I hit send and leaned back to wait for the fireworks. The Riverside Confidential story broke at 6 a.m. on Friday morning with the subtlety of a nuclear bomb. The headline read, "Love Triangle Scandal, Attorney Sophie Hartwell caught in web of deception with real estate agent and PR executive." By 8 a.m., my phone was ringing constantly. I ignored the calls from Sophie, Jade, and several numbers I didn't recognize, probably reporters looking for comment. The only call I answered was from Maya. "Dad, what the hell is going on? There are photographers outside Mom's office, and someone at school showed me this crazy article about her, and..." "Maya, listen to me carefully. Don't talk to any reporters, don't answer questions from strangers, and don't go anywhere alone today. Can you stay with your friend Sarah's family this weekend?" "This is about the divorce, isn't it? Dad, what did you do?" The accusation in her voice stung, but I kept my tone calm. "I didn't write that article, sweetheart. I just stopped protecting people who didn't deserve protection." After hanging up, I drove to Mike's gym for what I hoped would be a normal workout. Instead, I found Ethan Morrison waiting for me in the parking lot, leaning against his Tesla like some kind of movie villain. "We need to talk," he said as I got out of my car. "Do we? I thought you'd said everything you needed to say at the country club." Ethan's usual polished demeanor was cracking. His suit was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "You think you're clever, don't you? Destroying people's lives with your little computer tricks?" "I think I'm a man who got tired of being lied to." I started walking toward the gym entrance. "If you'll excuse me, I have a workout scheduled." Ethan grabbed my arm, spinning me around. "This isn't over. You have no idea what you're dealing with." I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back at his face. "Take your hand off me." "Or what? You'll run crying to your lawyer?" Instead of answering, I drove my knee up into his solar plexus, doubling him over. As he gasped for air, I grabbed his shoulders and slammed him back against his car. "Let me explain something to you, Ethan. I spent 4 years in the Army before I became a computer nerd. I've been boxing for 20 years, and right now I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep and a lot of suppressed rage." I leaned closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. "So when I tell you to take your hands off me, it's not a request." I released him and stepped back. Ethan straightened slowly, his face flushed with humiliation and anger. "This isn't over," he repeated, but his voice lacked conviction. "Yes, it is. Your real estate license is suspended. Your clients are fleeing, and your reputation is destroyed. Go find a new city to infest. As I walked away, I heard the Tesla's engine start, then the screech of tires as Ethan peeled out of the parking lot. Inside the gym, Mike was waiting with a knowing look. Trouble? Nothing I couldn't handle, but I think things are about to escalate. I was right. That afternoon, Jade called from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. You think you're so smart, she said without preamble, but you have no idea what you've unleashed. Enlighten me. I know about the gambling, David, the offshore accounts, the money you've been hiding from Sophie. I have documentation that will destroy you in court. I laughed, actually laughed. Really? That's your play? Fictional gambling debts and imaginary offshore accounts? They won't be fictional when I'm done. I've built careers on managing narratives, and I'm very good at my job. We're good at your job. Past tense. I checked this morning. Morrison Luxury Properties dropped your firm, along with 3 other major clients. Something about reputation management concerns. The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. You don't know who you're messing with, she finally said. Actually, I know exactly who I'm messing with. A PR executive who's been sleeping with her best friend's boyfriend while helping them plan to defraud me in divorce court. The only question is whether Sophie knows about you and Ethan yet. She'll never believe you. She won't have to. I'm sure Riverside Confidential would love a follow-up story with more video evidence. Unless, of course, you'd prefer to handle this privately. What do you want? Full disclosure to Sophie about your relationship with Ethan. Public apology for the defamation campaign you've been planning. And complete withdrawal from any involvement in my divorce proceedings. And if I refuse, then tomorrow's headline will be about how the city's most trusted PR executive has been running elaborate con games on her own clients. I have enough footage to keep the scandal alive for weeks. I hung up before she could respond. My phone immediately started buzzing with angry texts, but I ignored them. Phase 3 was in motion, and there was no stopping it now. That evening, I sat in my apartment, monitoring social media and news sites as the story continued to spread. Sophie's law firm had issued a terse statement about reviewing the situation, which in corporate speak meant she was finished. Ethan's real estate website had been taken down, and Jade's PR firm had issued a statement about temporary restructuring. 3 careers destroyed in less than a week. I should have felt satisfied, but mostly I just felt tired. My phone rang. Sophie's number. This time I answered. Hello, Sophie. You fool. Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying for hours. You've destroyed everything. My career, my reputation, my life. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped covering for your choices. Maya won't even talk to me. She's ashamed to be seen with me. That hit harder than I'd expected. Maya will come around. She's your daughter. Is she? Because right now she's staying with friends, and they're all looking at her like she's some kind of pariah because of what you did. What I did? Sophie, you've been having an affair for 8 months. You and your friends have been planning to destroy me in court with false accusations. You've been lying to everyone, including yourself. I never meant for it to go this far. Ethan said what he needed to say to get what he wanted, just like Jade did, just like you did. I paused, choosing my words carefully. Sophie, there's something you need to know about your boyfriend and your best friend. I told her about the footage, about the planning sessions, about the kiss in the parking garage. With each revelation, her breathing became more ragged. You're lying, she whispered finally. I'll email you the video files. Watch them yourself. Why are you telling me this? Because despite everything, I don't want to see you get destroyed by people who care even less about you than you cared about me. The line went quiet for a long moment. It's too late, isn't it? She said finally. There's no coming back from this. For us, yes, it's too late. But you're smart, Sophie. You're talented. You can rebuild somewhere else with people who don't know this story. And Maya? Maya loves her mother. Give her time and give her honesty. She's stronger than you think. After I hung up, I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and stood at my window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow would bring new complications, new consequences, new fallout from the choices we'd all made. But tonight, for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The annual Riverside Children's Hospital Charity Gala was the social event of the season, where the city's elite gathered to write tax-deductible checks and be seen doing good. I hadn't planned to attend, but when I learned that Sophie, Ethan, and Jade would all be there, apparently trying to salvage their reputations through public displays of charity, I decided to make an appearance. I arrived late after the dinner, but before the auction, wearing my best tuxedo and carrying a laptop bag that drew curious glances from the security staff. A generous donation to the hospital's IT fund had secured me a spot on the evening's program as a special technology presentation. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel was packed with 500 of the city's most influential residents. I spotted my targets immediately. Sophie sat at a table near the back, looking pale and drawn in a black evening gown. Ethan was across the room, glad-handing potential clients who seemed less than enthusiastic about his attention. Jade held court near the bar, her smile bright and brittle as she worked damage control on her remaining relationships. None of them had seen me yet. The hospital's development director, Mrs. Chen, approached the podium for the evening's final presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat tonight. David Hartwell, one of our most generous supporters and a technology consultant, has prepared a presentation about the importance of transparency and accountability in charitable giving. I walked to the front of the room, connecting my laptop to the projection system as conversations gradually died down. Sophie had spotted me now, her face draining of color. Ethan was pushing through the crowd toward the exit, but the ballroom doors had been closed for the presentation. Good evening, I said into the microphone, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system. Thank you all for being here tonight, supporting such an important cause. I want to talk to you about trust, transparency, and the importance of knowing who you're really dealing with. The first slide appeared on the massive screens flanking the stage, a photo of Sophie, Ethan, and Jade at a restaurant, clearly intimate and conspiratorial. These three individuals have been running a sophisticated con game on this community for months. Tonight, I want to show you exactly how they operate. The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Mrs. Chen moved toward the stage, but I held up a hand. Mrs. Chen, I promise this is relevant to charitable accountability. Please, give me 5 minutes. The next slide showed financial documents, carefully redacted to protect privacy, but clearly showing the pattern of deception. Sophie Hartwell, a respected attorney, has been using her position to facilitate questionable real estate deals with her lover, Ethan Morrison. Meanwhile, Jade Patterson has been orchestrating a media campaign to destroy anyone who threatens their operation. I clicked to the next slide. Surveillance footage from Jade's parking garage, showing Ethan and Jade in their passionate embrace. But here's where it gets interesting. While Sophie thought she was part of a team, her boyfriend and best friend were planning to cut her out of their scheme entirely. Sophie stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. Stop this. You can't do this. I can, and I am. You see, ladies and gentlemen, these three people have spent months planning to defraud me in divorce court, using false accusations and fabricated evidence. They've destroyed reputations, violated professional ethics, and betrayed everyone who trusted them. The next slide showed text messages between Jade and Ethan, discussing their plans to manipulate Sophie and split the proceeds from my supposed hidden assets. Ethan finally reached the side of the stage, his face red with rage. You son of a witch, I'll sue you for everything you have. With what? Your suspended real estate license? Your non-existent reputation? Your girlfriend's bankrupt PR firm? I smiled down at him. Please, enlighten us about your legal strategy. Security was moving toward the stage now, but the crowd was riveted. Phones were out recording everything, uploading it to social media in real time. The beautiful thing about the truth, I continued, is that it doesn't need spin or management or careful presentation. It just needs sunlight. Ethan tried to climb onto the stage, but his dress shoes slipped on the polished steps. He tumbled backward, landing hard on the ballroom floor in a tangle of limbs and formal wear. The crowd gasped, then began to murmur as he struggled to get up, his dignity as shattered as his schemes. I looked out at the audience, making eye contact with Sophie one final time. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks, her carefully constructed facade finally cracking completely. Sophie, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the microphone, you wanted to play at my level. You thought I was weak, that I was beneath you, that I would just quietly disappear when you were done with me. I paused, letting the silence stretch. Welcome to the basement. I disconnected my laptop and walked off the stage, leaving behind 500 shocked faces and 3 destroyed reputations. As I reached the exit, I could hear the chaos erupting behind me, shouting, crying, the flash of camera phones, and the urgent whispers of people who had just witnessed a public execution. In the hotel lobby, I ran into Mrs. Chen, who was hurrying toward the ballroom with hotel security. "Mr. Hartwell, what you just did was necessary," I finished. "Those people have been lying to this community for months. The hospital deserves to know who it's accepting donations from. But the scandal, the publicity, will blow over in a week. But the truth will last forever." I handed her a check. "This should cover any disruption to your event. The full amount I pledged, plus a bonus for the inconvenience." Outside, the rain had started again, washing the city clean. I stood under the hotel's awning for a moment, listening to the sirens in the distance. Probably an ambulance for Ethan, who was likely more bruised in ego than body. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Dad, what the hell did you just do? It's all over Instagram." I typed back. I told the truth. Finally. "Are you okay?" I looked back at the hotel where security was now escorting Sophie and Jade toward separate exits while a crowd of reporters materialized from nowhere, drawn by the social media buzz. I'm perfect, sweetheart. For the first time in years, I'm exactly where I need to be. As I walked to my car, I passed Ethan being helped into an ambulance, more for show than necessity. He caught my eye through the open doors, his expression a mixture of hatred and defeat. "This isn't over," he mouthed. I smiled and shook my head. "Yes, it is." The ambulance doors closed, and I continued to my car. Behind me, the Riverside Hotel blazed with light and chaos, the scene of the final battle in a war that had started with cruel laughter over dinner and ended with the complete annihilation of 3 people who had forgotten the most basic rule of combat: never underestimate your opponent. I drove home through the rain-soaked streets, past the boxing gym where Mike had taught me that real strength comes from taking hits and staying standing, past the office buildings where I'd learned that information is the ultimate weapon, past the life I'd built and lost and built again. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Lawyers, probably. Reporters, definitely. The long process of rebuilding relationships with Maya and figuring out what came next. But tonight, I was the last man standing in a game where everyone else had forgotten the rules. They wanted a villain. I became the lesson they'll never forget.